So Ashton, it's pretty normal to leash your dog, right?
I mean, yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't want
I
to run it
mean,
away.
yeah, but mine has this like cough he's got going on. Whenever we're trying to go somewhere, he gives me resistance. He starts pulling, which causes him to cough a little bit, right? As he goes like,
Yeah.
So I say, come on, this is just the leash. I haven't even put in the ball gag yet.
Oh my God.
Have you seen those guys wearing dog masks walking around the street being
Yeah.
walked? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
You
remember a
know,
story of like the UK police like petting one of them, and that's just like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, anyway, so I had a woman do the same thing as my dog, but I wanted to keep her shut, so I placed a gag order on her. And now I'm going to prison.
Just the premise doesn't make any sense because a gag order is like a legal thing, but you're going to prison now.
I
Just
paid
say
her
that
off.
you
That's what I did.
intimidated her physically,
My
and that
money
will
was
get
the gag order
okay.
because it made her gag after I paid her.
Did you shove it in her mouth? Did you shove it
The
like
money,
down her
yeah.
throat? Yeah.
But yeah,
You,
now I'm on felony charges.
you're a true libertarian. You only use hard money, so you just shoved like gold and silver down her throat. It's just
Anyway, so speaking of this, today we're talking about hedonism and depravity being instilled in the youth in the form of drag. If you didn't know already, this is the Civil Offense Podcast. My name is Ahmed Mlih, and today, that's what we're talking about. We have our boy Ashton, aka Ignis.
yep. Hello.
No
Very
other
nice.
allies today.
I mean, you were talking about a cough, and I do want to say that I've had like a cough for 3 weeks, and my girlfriend like got really concerned because like at the 3 week point you're supposed to see a doctor, but then I just realized, oh, it's just like my water bottle, so I just like changed out my water bottle, and then now my cough's gone, so that's very
Your
nice.
water bottle, you weren't washing it?
I mean, like not really, and I would switch it out. Like I would fill it up with like Powerade or like vitamin water or something like that. I'm just like, okay, it's got an off taste, but it's just like it's fine. But no, it's been giving me a cough for 3 weeks, so I'm just like, okay, that's done.
Were you putting like orange juice in it and the acid was making the metal go down your throat?
No, it's just the little like silicone gaskets to make it watertight. I think um we're just like getting like bacteria filled or something like that. I didn't really notice it until that point.
Well, anyway, here are a few announcements. Make sure, obviously this topic shouldn't be controversial, and because we're talking about this being pushed onto kids, not just, guys doing it out in the street dressed as dogs. I just find that kind of funny. But this topic can get you in hot water. So make sure to support the show. Go to ahmedmlih.com. Sign up for my email list to get the latest updates. Check out our Civil Offense merch at etsy.com/shop/zbigdogz. Not the dogs you see on the street. It's zbigdogz. Check out Civil Offense on Rumble, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. And remember to like, comment, and share the show. And one of the first things we actually have, Ashton, I'm not sure if you've seen this before, is the Ontario NDP recently urged legal protections for drag performances. So we have them saying that drag performances have been targeted by organized protests across the United States, but also here at home, said Kristen Wong Tam, who is putting forward a private member's bill to designate 100-meter zones around show venues. So basically, they had these signs that were saying it was like protect 2SLGBTQI plus, and they had signs around them saying this. Let's pull up this.
The Two-Spirit win in front. They put the Two-Spirit in
Is that what that
front
is?
of
I didn't
L.
even think of that.
Yeah, like two S and then L for like the lesbians. It's just like, okay, sure, you're gonna pretend that this is a thing, but wouldn't that go after? Wouldn't that go with a plus or some? It doesn't make
That's
sense.
all the lesbians had until now.
Yeah. And honestly, the G's should go before the L's if we're talking about like who had it worse in history.
All right, look, we're gonna take a look at Christopher Rufo's tweet. Right here, Christopher Rufo says, a non-binary, a wizard, a witch, 2 drag queens, 2 maskers, an awful, a child, a disabled minority, and a cis white male just introduced legislation to make offensive remarks near drag shows a violation of Canadian law. They're using diversity as a mask for tyranny. Yeah, I pretty much. Why do they have a witch there?
I don't know. The the choice of people to support that is just so confusing to me, where it's just like, okay, you're gonna have a press conference, who are we gonna gather there? Okay, so drag queens, that makes sense, it's about drag queens. Children, or a child, that's a weird optics decision. The awful makes sense just because there's a lot of them. You want that awful representation, the affluent white female liberals. But then like the witches, is there a connection between witches and drag queens? And I'm sure there's like some people maybe in our audience who would say, yes, it's all related, all this occultism, all this Satanism. And I'd say, yeah, I could kind of see the imagery there. I could kind of see the imagery of just like, there's some of these like drag performers that have like devil horns or something, and it's just like the most grotesque, just like offensive to beauty sort of like makeup, where it's just like pure white on black and everything like that. Worse than Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, that is just some strange stuff. They're playing dress up. They've got their little pretend games over there, and they got the.
We might get hexed for this, man.
They got a
We're
child
going against
in
the
on
witches.
it.
We're going against the witches in this.
Yeah, so apparently if you think drag's bad, you just can't be within 100 meters of it. Now, they'll just place a barrier, a line saying you can't come in here. You can't talk bad about it because we love drag. We love everything about it. It's good for the children, actually. And honestly, like for the people saying, oh, well, where's that at? I think that's been pretty evident as of late. With things being going on, like the quote unquote family friendly drag shows taking place in Texas, and then the protests happening right outside of that. That one that happened, was that like over the summer or what, where there was something saying like, it's not going to lick itself, like a sign in the thing saying that. Everybody remember that?
Yeah, but that was just ice cream. That was just talking about ice cream.
Right.
The ice cream shop that wasn't that building that was in. The ice cream shop that was like down the street. Or like next door, but definitely referring to that, the building that wasn't there.
Yeah, and then now there's this like, I'm not going to show the video for this, but there's like this 13-year-old, I think it was, drag boy like performing on a stage, like doing these dances for people. Like, I mean, it's not the first time this thing's even happened, but you see a lot of it in conservative media now being shared around. And obviously, like, I just don't want to share that because it's like, it's a 13-year-old boy on a stage. You're watching the exact same thing these people are that you're criticizing them for watching. And then it's like, okay, well, why would we show this? But it's pretty disgusting. So it's for the people that are questioning, oh, there's, what do you mean there's grooming going on? What do you mean there's grooming? Like, then nobody's being groomed. It's like, oh yeah, okay, well, you have kids being told to perform drag, and that's not even something that has been like more so refuted, because there are literally drag queens telling kids, yeah, kids do drag. We have a video, actually, this 2018 video. Kids meet a drag queen for the first time, and the drag queen literally tells kids it's okay to do drag. So I think we're going to watch that one right now, since that seems pretty relevant to the topic at hand.
Okay. It's like a sort of thing, too, where it's we're not doing it, but also it's a good thing. So it's just like, drag queens, they aren't trying to influence kids' minds to make them become drag queens or anything like that. They aren't trying to confuse them or anything. But also drag queens should talk to kids, because kids need to be exposed to like what drag is, because that might make them like better express themselves or anything like that. It's a game, and they're playing it, and most of them are dishonestly playing it. Some of them, I assume, are honest, and they're just experiencing cognitive dissonance. There might be some, I caution to say, good people.
I think I can see your beard.
You can see my beard? Oh no!
Got to shave. Got that 5 o'clock shadow.
Are you nervous?
Yes.
How come?
God, how he's towering over him.
Do you know what I am? No? I'm a drag queen. Have you ever heard of a drag queen before?
God.
What is a drag queen?
A drag queen is someone who expresses themselves creatively
He totally
through
knows.
performance.
You look like you would speak in a different way,
Yeah.
Like this.
but now you're speaking different.
You didn't think I was a boy?
I've been
Bruh.
You thought I was a girl?
That kid wants
I'm a
more.
boy. How do you feel about that?
a little bit weirded out, but like a little interesting.
Interesting? It's a lot to think about.
Do you always dress up as a girl?
Not always, only when I'm performing. I usually live most of my life in jeans and a t-shirt and a
So why not
backwards
right
ball
now?
cap.
That's
Why not right now then?
So you're gay?
I am.
Why'd you specifically dress up to perform in front of the kids?
Coming out of the closet means when you tell everybody that you're gay. It's something that gay people have to do.
To do drag?
No,
What is that
anybody can
kid's
do drag.
reaction?
Drag is for anybody and everybody who wants to put on a fun costume and get up on stage and entertain people. Everybody should try drag at least once. It's really fun.
Even kids?
Yeah.
Sneako
there's actually
talking
Right
quite a
there.
few folks that
Yeah.
are starting to do drag.
Even kids should do drag.
Do dogs do drag? I mean, they can.
My dog
you
does
can dress
drag.
a dog up in a dress and
force
take them
him.
on stage with you.
Oh god.
So, why
Right before you put the ball gag on.
Yeah.
get to be a drag?
I first went and saw a drag show and thought it was really fun. And so I started playing with makeup and wigs and costumes and things and then started performing and just fell in love
Almost
with
like it's a
performing. I love
social
being on stage.
contagion.
I've been a what about you?
That
Do
kid
you
is
like to
bold.
dance?
A little.
A little? Just a little bebopping?
I like to do this dance called the floss.
What's that?
Like this.
Oh, the backpack
We
kid
like
dance.
Fortnite. We like
Yeah.
Fortnite.
It's called the floss?
Yeah, because it's like your
I
floss.
forgot about that.
Oh, I get it. I'm into it.
It's not even that I watched this video all the way through. I just forgot about this dance.
This dress, I got.
Is that a costume?
It is. Everything that I wear, I.
No, that's
refer
attached to my
costume.
skin.
Like Halloween?
It's kind of like Halloween every day. That's
This
what I
is
get
a
to do for my
skinwalker.
job is Halloween every day.
Except the candy part, there's no candy.
Sometimes there's candy.
Oh.
I
didn't like that.
That's an in.
Oh,
I didn't
there-
like. Well,
there-
free candy, kids. Free candy.
I,
Little.
yeah, glitter. I like everything to sparkle a little bit. I say if you're not sparkling, you're not trying, right? Do you ever wear
Really?
sparkly things?
Oh god, that reminded
Not
me of
really.
something.
How come you don't wear anything
I'll say it
sparkly?
after the clip.
Yeah, kids, start wearing more effeminate things, boys.
School make fun of me.
There's been a few times that I've encountered people that weren't quite as nice and were a little bit judgmental. What?
I know what to do. Just don't speak, because then they think you're like a real one.
Don't you think I should be myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever wish you were a girl?
I don't.
You should
I
stop
like,
talking so people can't tell
being
you're a man.
boy, but I enjoy dressing up like a girl. It's really fun.
What does your family think about your job?
You know, at first they were a little unsure of it. They didn't quite understand what I was doing. But as they learned more, they've opened up more to it. What would your family say if you were a drag queen?
Get out of this house.
Really?
That's what my dad would say.
Well, you know,
Base
you
dead.
can change people's minds.
Yeah, but not base enough
I'm
because
pretty
like
much not weirded out now.
You're not?
he already got to a point where he got
Anybody
his
can
kid
do
into
anything
this.
They want. If,
That's true,
if they
too.
want to wear
Yeah, why did
a
he?
dress, that's fine.
If he were
Also,
to
just
tell,
like
if he were to
Actually,
tell
no,
this
I
kid, get out of
retract-
my house for
I
this,
just
why would he put
believe
his
in
kid
it.
in this situation?
Yeah.
Thank
I
you,
retract
guys.
that
It was
statement
great to meet you.
because it's just
so
like
good to meet you.
you've already
Yeah.
failed if you're kicking your kid out of your house.
I'll see you later.
It's a reflection on you.
It's true.
I'm Isabella Exton, and thank you for watching Kids Meet a Drag Queen.
All right, dox
if you want to know
yourself
more
then.
about me, check down below in the description box and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Christian Mingle, all of them.
Hey, yo.
If you want to see more Kids
I
Meet
thought he was
click
about to
right
shout out
here.
OnlyFans.
Well,
The glitter on everything reminded me of this one quote, and I forget where it's originated from, but it's about like these people who are not necessarily spearheading, but are just like intellectualizing this whole process, where they want like the drag ideas to kids to be like leaving glitter in the carpet that will never come out, where it's just like gonna get there no matter what happens, like afterwards, once they've been exposed to these ideas, the ideas are going to be in their head and you're not going to be able to get it out of them.
yeah, I mean, obviously that helps that they're so young, so you're able to give them that information and they take it in and they're like, wow, okay, this must be real then. Like, you know, a guy can just like do this and then show it to kids and it's fine. That must be fine, right? You know, and then when I have kids, they'll do the same thing. I mean, unless I sterilize myself.
It's just the parents who would bring their kids onto this. Like, you could see the confusion on the kids' faces. Like, this, for their development, adds much more complexity to an issue that does not necessarily need to be complex. Or like that they don't need to face right now because they have absolutely no understanding of it. Like children, like even introducing, and I think this gets into like a larger topic of just like even introducing the idea of homosexuality into a kid's life just makes it more confusing because uh, just by virtue of being the product of like a heterosexual relationship, you have like some idea of where it's just like mommy loves daddy and then out was made. You don't have any idea about like anything more than that, but it's just like you map that meaning of a man and woman relationship within like a marriage or hopefully stable household. You map that onto what you come to learn as homosexual couples, and then you're just like, they don't make kids. Okay, so what's this about? And then inevitably it has to like come back down to not like the producing kids part, but it's just like, okay, what's an act similar to producing kids that they do? And it inevitably comes to talk about well, not only like feelings of attraction, but then the sexual content of it. The kid does not need to be thinking about that at all in any sense.
Yeah. And this was a whole discussion back when the whole, like, you know, don't say gay, you know, parental rights and education stuff happened in Florida. And I believe there was something in this past session as well where they were trying to extend it over to like 8th grade. But yeah, people were always like, oh, like, why would you not want gay, like, teachers telling their kids about their husband or their wife, or like, you know, why wouldn't you want them telling them about their, like, are you homophobic? Like, why wouldn't you want this to be in the classroom? And then there were a lot of conservatives that were like, oh, well, you know, we don't want any, you know, teachers telling their kids about any of their like marriages or any of that, right? Keeping that out of the classroom. But to your point, it's different. Like, it's not the same thing. Like I back in like elementary, there was like, I had a teacher who like married another one. Like they were basically like, I guess he was like the assistant teacher or whatever, like in the classroom. Like it was a Montessori school. We had like this like kind of bigger set of kids, but like, you know, that was a fine thing. Like, you know, I understood, you know, my parents are a man and a woman, and they got married and had me. And then like, I understood this concept already before that. So there wasn't really anything like in my mind that was telling me, oh, this is strange. Right. But like if there were like 2 women teachers and then that happened, yeah, that would be a little bit like new for the children, like pretty new. And they would have a lot of questions and they'd be like, why is this going on? Like, well, you know, how does this make sense? Make it make sense. Right. So,
and I do want to say too, like, what matters is like the age. Like these kids are super young, and I think like any prepubescent kid should probably learn about it. But like once it's around like puberty or so, then like sure, like the parents, even if it's just like telling them like what's in the world today, sort of thing.
yeah.
When if you were to come from like the more conservative background or something like that, if you're like wanting to be a conservative parent, just even like at that point telling them what it is, because like once they hit puberty, then they start to understand these sort of like sexual feelings and stuff.
Yeah, I think to your point, like it's also not good to like completely like, you know, until adulthood shield somebody from like the reality of the world. Obviously you want to tell them things like if you believe there are certain like irrationalities in the world, right, and things that don't make sense and aren't right. I mean, as your kid gets older, like into a teenager and becomes like starts to go into adulthood, you do want to make sure that you know they're prepared for what's going on in the world, obviously, just to know, like, not fall into anything you think is wrong, obviously, because you have to be able to get your kid to, you know, understand these things and then know if these things are wrong and why they're wrong, and not just see them for the first time and be like, oh, I've never heard of this in my life and I'm like 18.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say all of the things that's encompassed in these topics are wrong, but it's just a matter of what the necessary implications are for the life that you would live as them. It is a like major part of people's lives and a very I would say like traditional aspect where it's just like men get civilized by women, women get civilized by men in a relationship, and you find great fulfillment and meaning in creating that lifelong bond. And then once you bring children into that, that is like the top tier of like meaning into your life, and going into your elderly years knowing that you have a generation past you that you have like left on, and then seeing them become successful themselves and create more generations to come, and leaving that impact which transcends your own existence, is, I wouldn't say the height of meaning, but extremely meaningful. And then being on your deathbed surrounded by people you love, rather than being alone with all your money and all your hedonistic impulses, is meaningful. But like, you can't necessarily have that, and definitely not to the same extent. There's the arguments about gay adoption or anything like that, or like single parent adoption, but you are necessarily going to leave out a major factor in that child's life, say just by adoption. By taking that kid away from their natural born mother is rough. If the natural born mother is just like unable to take care of the kid, that's rough too. But it's a suboptimal situation for the kid and their development. But there could be worse options out there. So I'm not saying don't adopt. Definitely, the kid's in a bad spot. But from like the parents' perspective, it's just, again, goes back to the hedonism thing, where it's just like, that's not going to be as meaningful of a life, very likely.
Yeah, I mean, like, talking on what the kid is missing and all that, like, I still think, you know, obviously having that mother and father role in your life is also important. So even if there was an adoption, I mean, not to say that, you know, like a kid's better off with no parents, but right. Just saying, like, you know, what a kid is best suited or best suited with, and what will lead to the best success is obviously like a mom and a dad. And that is just giving the kid.
How do you know that though? Where are the studies?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Where's my study? Where's my study of like?
Did you get Dr. Fauci saying?
Yeah, it's almost.
Did you get the science TM?
No, the government didn't tell it to me yet, so I don't know. I can't believe it. Well, actually, they did tell it to me, and then they said, no, actually, that's wrong. You're actually better off with two dads. Or two moms.
Yeah, you need two dads and two moms, both all in like a
like a poly family.
Yeah, all in a quadruple, but they're each gay, so they're only like doing it.
They're
with
each other.
So yeah, like it's like two couple. No, it's just like you're living in like what would be a 2-family household, but you're just like your common property of all of them, of course.
Yeah, well, that's. So anyway, RuPaul Andre Charles has a Build-A-Bear now, and it is apparently said to be ready for any eleganza extravaganza. Is being sold to individually as part of a Glamazon gift set that includes gold pumps to go with the bear blonde wig and a gold sequined dress. According to the listings on the Build-A-Bear website, there's also a RuPaul's Drag Race logo on the bear's paw. I read an article saying that apparently you have to be 18 to purchase. Like, you have to be 18 to get into the website. But like, why is it on the Build-A-Bear website? Why is it on the Build-A-Bear website? You know, why is this explicitly kids brand? Putting a drag queen on there and then saying, oh, well, you have to be 18 to get into this, but you just have to click yes, I'm 18 and get into it and then buy it. You know, it's
Okay, so all of this doesn't make sense. Did you say it was RuPaul and someone else? Or
no, it's RuPaul's bear. Okay, yeah, it's just a RuPaul bear with RuPaul's Drag Race branding.
I want to know the sales record for this, like how many people are actually buying this. It's just like, who are you buying it for? And it's just like the 18 thing is confusing too. I'm guessing there's some like law or regulation that they're following in regards to that. Or maybe it's just a matter of just like, don't buy it with your parents' credit card. Possibly. I doubt it.
It's apparently you get into like the bear cave when you go in, and then you have to click I'm 18 to you just click I'm 18 and then you see it.
Is the website sexually themed?
It's just the fact that it's RuPaul. I'm assuming it's like, oh, this is a drag queen. We don't want to get in too hot of water, but we still want to sell this.
Yeah, I'd say most of the fault comes down on any parent that buys that for the kid than anything. It's just like, additionally too, like you have kids who are hooked on to not necessarily TV as much anymore, but like their tablets and YouTube and everything like that, the internet. And it is the fault of the parents to not control that for their kids. And then one day they hear, oh, like my kid's been listening to this thing for a while, and then they hear the offer mark because they like just walked into the room, and then it's just like they see out of the corner of their eye, just like RuPaul, just like, buy my beer.
Buy my bear, y'all.
No, but then it's just like, oh, I wonder what my kid was watching when I wasn't in the room. And then at that point, you've already fucked up.
So your rule is no tablets in the bathroom.
That would probably be a good rule. That would probably be a good rule.
It's just a thought.
Just like, no, you need that like the security wire for the tablets that like hold them down to the desk.
It's
You're
like,
an
it's like an Apple store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't take the tablet
Okay,
anywhere else. Has to
right.
be in the family.
Well, maybe for the first few years. Maybe until like high school.
No, that's like when you need it down. That's when you need.
Oh, well, that's okay. Well, you just want to make sure it's not too early. You know, nothing too crazy too early. So anyway, speaking on this, you know, what have we seen as far as like, you know, this sort of like stuff being sold to kids? What has there been prominent? Like I'm trying to look for specific examples or at least like something less general. I mean, we just gave RuPaul's Drag Bear, but I want to give some more. Like I mentioned on last episode that I had seen, this was at the mall I had went to, and it's like a bigger store. I don't remember the name of it, but like literally there was a sign in the window saying protect trans kids. Right. If I knew the name of the store, I'd say it right now. I just don't I don't have it at the top of my head. I just know that like this wasn't some like small business in the middle of who knows where, that it's like one example out of nowhere. There was also like all those like Texans, like, you know, the Beto supporters saying like support trans or it was like protect trans kids because of some rule that they were having as far as I don't remember the exact law Texas was passing or whatever, but it had to do with that. And it was like, I don't know, there's been a lot of like these stories of like, oh, the states are going to pass laws that like forcibly make kids like stop taking hormones or take them away from their parents or whatever and whatever. And then people's response is like protect trans kids. And it's like, really? I was just going to say, that is just something that I've been seeing a lot more of as of late. Like before it was like, okay, here your kids can go to drag shows, right? That's okay. Do that. And then it was like, you know, it's fine to know about this stuff in the classroom. It's fine to be taught this stuff in the classroom. It's fine to have drag queen story hour. You know, it's fine for your kid to be going through the early stages of transition. It's fine to be taking puberty blockers. They're perfectly safe. There's no way to, you know, like you can reverse them if necessary. Not true. You can reverse them. They're reversible. It's just letting them get a choice. It's letting them decide. It's giving them time. Let your kid grow his hair out. Let him wear a dress. Let him do whatever, you know, let him be himself. If you saw Jazz, like the show, I Am Jazz.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, where people, well, now apparently I've been hearing, I haven't watched the like new season or whatever, but like there are people talking about how like Jazz actually might want to let the neo, like, you know, hole be closed up, like not continue inserting whatever to like keep it open, and apparently having like doubts about like, because you know, the transgenderism has not brought happiness, just sort of that thing. That's what I've been seeing. I you know, I'm just speaking as to what I've heard, but yeah, no, and now it's like protect trans kids, and that's not even like new, that's like, you know, past couple of years. So yeah, I don't know, maybe it's gotten a bit crazy, and maybe this is like not just one thing after the other. Maybe it's like all flowing into each other.
Possibly too, because like that mother, she is on the like top of the list for like worst public figure mother of the year award. I'm sure there are many worse in private. I'm sure some of these parents like that send their kids to these sorts of things are fairly close in there too. Not as bad obviously, because they wouldn't forcibly keep her neo vagina open. But yeah, just Jazz is just such a sad case, because you are signing up to a whole host of medical complications just to keep the and this would be a very blunt way of saying it, but just to keep the facade alive. And I wouldn't say specifically illusion, I would say facade, because it is artificial. It is like an artificial vagina. It's the trans choochie that
Bougie choochie.
the bougie choochie
My
that you paid
trans
$40,000 for,
It's
that
a
you have to go
Birkin
back
bag,
in the
babe.
doctor,
You're taking the Birkin bag.
that you have to go to the doctor for like every 6 months so you know that nothing's wrong. That might end up smelling like feces and everything like that. But it's just like, it's like wallpaper over punch-in drywall. That is way too apt of a comparison than I thought it would be. But you're entering this life where you're going to have this facade over everything, and then your identity is, your self-perception is going to break the facade. And then like you see this sometimes too, where people are just like, I really needed this nose job because whenever I would see my nose, or I really needed to like have an Adam's apple reduction because whenever I would see that, I would get dysphoric and everything like that. And it's just at that point too, it's just like they're so bought into this. Maybe like maybe it would be good if they were to stay deluded, because if they were not to stay deluded in this idea, perhaps that would be worse off for them. Perhaps they would think that they have gone too far and then would take an extreme action in the other way. And it's just how to interact with these people there's no like set way to do so, especially none that like would be universally agreed upon as acceptable. So it's just it's a new landscape, and it's just hard to see.
Yeah, I mean, think about the case of Jazz. Like, you look at this kid who was like, it was like 2 or 3 years old. Like, at 2 or 3 years old, this mother was reaffirming these ideas that this kid thought that he was a girl, and that like the mermaid costume that he was wearing, they show like these pictures of him wearing like mermaid costumes and all that, and like saying like, oh well, like I knew since I was a kid that I was this way, and then the mom starts saying, yeah, Jazz always knew, like from this young age. And then they're like, oh well, then we started putting like like getting Jazz to wear or have longer hair, and put on these like literally the whole way that transition typically works. And Jazz had done all these things like before 18, and I think it was like maybe at 18 that this or right at 18 that this surgery had been done. But by the time Jazz had reached this age, they were saying there wasn't enough like tissue down there to work with because of like how much these puberty blockers were doing, or I should say like how little it was causing reproductive organs to be that were supposed to like grow through puberty. And obviously it was a very big change in what's natural for hormones. So obviously by the time you reach like an adult age and you've gone through this your entire life, speaking on that delusion, like what other life do you have? You don't really have like a normal life at all in any semblance. There's nothing to return to, right? It's really just like, if you want to get out of this at this point, all you can do is form a new life. You can't really like get back to anything outside of this delusion, because your whole life, all you've known is the delusion.
Yeah. And by delusion too, it's just it has a very negative connotation with it, the word, but specifically in the way that I mean it is just it is a false belief that you hold to be true, and it's just so that is all that I mean by it. Not being hateful. I feel very sorry for these people because just the Jazz thing, where I think it was like 4, she started to like go down this in not just a social way, but just complications with that. And I don't really have too much more to say about like,
I'll say it. There's this doctor on there, like Dr. Gallagher, who has become this like more famous like trans kid surgeon, who literally like starts talking about, I'm eating the teats off these little girls, like these teenage girls, like not even like barely just
was he the one that was on
it.
like Matt Walsh's?
Yeah, she was also on Matt Walsh's documentary, but I think like the first time I'd heard about her was from that, like being on there talking about like bragging about this stuff. And then she was on like What Is a Woman, and now she's like got like TikTok fame, and people are, well, I mostly just see reposts of this stuff like calling her disgusting because it's true. But Yeah, I mean, people like that, like they're just the ones that are continuing this stuff. Like I don't blame kids that are brought up into this for believing this stuff because they were just like made to. I mean, like good on them if they can break out of it. Like I think it's really good to do, and I don't think you should like continue just for the sake of it. But I mean, yeah, these doctors are like the ones doing all this and committing these acts. It's like, you know, it's kind of funny because, you know, Big Pharma is a thing. And the state kind
The
of
bigger concern for me is like, okay, one, how do you know this whole idea is true? This whole premise of that one can truly be the opposite gender sex. The distinction between that was made by pedophile sexologist John Money. There was the case of the kids where it's just you had the twin boys. One of them had like a circumcision accident where like burned off his penis. It was absolutely horrific. But then the parents chose to give him over to John Money, who made him act like a girl and then pretend as if he was a girl for his entire life and then get into sexual positions with his brother to reinforce this idea and take pictures of that.
And then there's Kinsey as well.
Yeah, Kinsey
who
as
literally
well.
talked about like how do I phrase this delicately? I really don't want to say this. Like infants, the pleasure they experience in a similar way to adults. He tracked this, and unfortunately, there's only one way to actually track that, and I hate that. Yeah. That's a thing, but it happened. So and he documented this, and it's in his like literature.
Yeah. So you have these pillars of humanity who are the forebearers of these ideas, and then like, how do you know this is true? And then just looking for this simple concession. How do you know that some of these cases are not Munchausen syndrome by proxy? That some of these parents are parents of kids who aren't actually trans and who are putting these kids through all of this just to get attention, just to like have the kid be sick for them and then go through all this process, be this like victim of circumstance of just like, it's just so hard being a parent of this trans youth. How do you know that this is not that situation? Because if it is, that is, you are putting this person is putting this kid through such terrible torment and pain and possibly just like destined for suicide. And just considering that as a possibility, you have to look at all of these situations with so much more skepticism, because I would say that's a real possibility. I hope that one would concede that maybe it is possible that one of these cases of these like public figures is as such, because in that case, man, that kid is just, I feel just so bad for him.
Yeah. So I was going to point to, well, actually, first, I did want to say, like, I was saying beforehand that, you know, like, it's almost like Big Pharma is a thing, right? And so, like, when you have doctors saying this stuff is good and they're professing this stuff and they're saying, yeah, I love doing this. Yeah, it's almost like these are the same people that are paid off to have, you know, sold you certain types of, you know, pharmaceutical products back when COVID was a thing, no matter what your situation was, and told you that this is good for you and that you should take it because Dr. Fauci said so. And so, yeah, I think we should trust those people fully to decide what's good for your children.
Or even past that, like just previously when it kind of came to like, I'm sure these aren't the same people who sold like all the, what is it? All the painkillers and everything like that, all the opioids. Possibly
kids, like literal, like putting them on these drugs because they're like, oh, your kid's crazy. He's bouncing off the walls. We need to put him on these drugs that are going to sedate him, keep his mind slow.
But I don't, it may not be possible that these are like the exact same people as that, but it's very likely that they're just taking after in that same stride because you have these medical boards and like conferences and doctors talking about how once you have like a trans patient, that is a patient for life because they might not come back to you, but they're going to have to come back to someone. You want to build that relationship because they have their surgery, they have their mastectomy. If it's like a woman who's going through this, you have like the mastectomy, you have like any sort of like bottom surgery, you have like all the cosmetic surgery, and then you have every complication that comes with that too. And you have got HRT, which comes with that too, and everything like that. And it's a perverse incentive. And I'd say the best way out of this is to codify like lawsuits, because the children cannot consent to this, and the one that does consent to this would be the parents. So either suing the parents or suing the practitioner. I haven't really worked out yet, but getting just like a contract or something where it's just like, hey, I'm a kid. If I don't like this in the future, I get to sue your ass. Would be a very nice market mechanism for this practice.
But I want to tie this further down, because think about this. I mean, where are these doctors educated, right? State universities, right? Or heavily state-funded private universities. So they're only learning the things that, are government approved. They're only being licensed if the government approves it. They're only allowed to stay licensed if the government says, yeah, this is fine. So it's no shock, or like it's no surprise when these are the things they're pushing, and it's in line with what you see a lot of like part of the government pushing as well, right? It's obviously like if there were somebody speaking out against this, and and they were some sort of like notable doctor, I don't think they'd be like kept there if the state's like, yeah, we want to keep this going. So just think about like how this is working. Like this market of doctors isn't really allowed to like be a market of doctors. It's literally just like, the white market in which the state is like saying, yeah, these are the approved ones and they're the ones transing the kids and these are the fine ones. Right. So, and obviously like the same thing for a lot of the other stuff they've been doing all along, because it has to do with, ensuring that they can keep their, patents and all that, and all that on the medical market and all that, and not have people making their own forms of medicine or talking to people about different ideas in it, and then allowing people to make their own medical decisions. It's really up to like, this big pharmaceutical industry that's being propped up by the state to say like, hey, yeah, we sort of benefit off of this. Why would we allow it to be subverted?
Yeah. And then also just like it's what I usually think is it's from the top down structure of these hospitals as well. Where you have these doctors who it's just like there's the single geographical monopoly of like the hospital that's nearby, and that's like where they work. There's minor resistance and issues with trying to find another job when you don't have it. So then the hospital uses leverage to say, okay, we're gonna have these standards of care for these trans children. If you disagree, we're gonna fire you. If you're a conscientious objector to this, we're going to try to find some way to fire you or anything like that, to put you and make you disreputable or anything. And that then you have to make the career choice between your like morals and ethics, and you have to make the choice between that and your career, your job, your financial stability, your income, and everything like that. And this situation is only created because of the market conditions, which are a result of state interference.
Mm-hmm. Like certificate of need is one good example for a lot of these, like for why you see these hospital structures work the way they even do. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that things work this way, but they do. And it doesn't just work that way in the medical industry. It's also like we've been discussing, pushed in media. And one last example of how it's sold to kids. We do have one last video here. I don't know if everybody remembers this, but this is drag queen Nina West, who was on Nickelodeon doing a Blue's Clues Pride Parade song, and it was portraying an adolescent beaver, and I mean a cartoon animal when I say that, with double mastectomy scars. And at best, it was like adolescent. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to watch this real quick. I don't think we can share the song on here because, copyright stuff. And that's also, BS. But we're going to watch this video and see exactly what Nina's doing over here.
The red salute in the microphone.
So they had some like, I don't know, kind of flag. I don't know what these even represent, but they're all different flags. Okay, so.
Yeah.
I mean, that just looks like a mom, dad, and a daughter that are all dressed in gay.
Except it's a cartoon, so those can be both dads.
That's true. Oh. These babas are non, but yeah, because baba is like a gender neutral term for your disabled. Parent.
The dolphin's disabled.
Okay, so yeah, here's the one with the scars on the right. That's that beaver. Yeah, that doesn't look like. I mean, that's like one of the kids.
I wonder why so many of the kids are trans.
Why is
Choose
Blue's
their
Clues
family.
here? You know. I think it's pretty obvious why Blue's Clues is here. Blue's Clues has nothing to do with this, but Blue's Clues sells to kids. So none of the kids would recognize these other cartoon animals, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, cartoon animals, whatever." But once Blue's Clues is in there, showing his face, kids are like, "Oh my God, Blue's Clues!" And you have that like activation in the mind, like that monkey image that's like, the neuron activation. So yeah, this isn't the only thing Nina West has done for Nickelodeon. Like, there's another one, but this is just the more important one, just because of that part. Of what they're portraying, and they obviously wouldn't do that in a live action one. Not yet. I don't know.
Oh, okay. You got to get the Black Power Fist in there too.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
such a
the
weird
power fist on the
that's-
mic. Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. What's with
No,
that?
no,
What's
like,
with that?
on
Oh, that's just
black.
BLM, right? Like, but still, this. Well, this says it was published a year ago. I don't see an exact. Let's see, May 28th, 2021. So it actually lines up. Well, then that was something.
Yeah, there's something else too. Like
Choo-choo.
there was a line about choosing their family. And that reminds me of the same place where I heard the line about like getting the glitter, never getting the glitter out of the carpet, where it's just like family is a coded term specifically for like the drag family, like the gay family, where it's like Stephen Marsh or whatever, what's his name? The weird creepy guy on TikTok who's just like, kids, this is for you. This isn't for the parents. If you're a parent, leave. And he like just says like the creepiest shit, and then it's like, this is why I have a Patreon to talk to you kids specifically. Yeah, it's bad.
You remember
It's
that
bad.
gay choir video, the joking one, where they're like, "We're gonna take." Your
Oh,
kids,
yeah, I
we're
was
gonna-
thinking
we're gonna
about that.
Yeah.
Coming for your children.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that a lot of them who were singing in the background
Yeah.
were pedophiles.
There's
We're
a really good
charged-
video on that. There's a
Yeah,
really
with
good
sexual
one.
contact with like a child under 14 or some shit like that. It's fun. It's incredible. They wouldn't mask off. It's a joke. It's a joke. Obviously, guys, we're not actually coming for your kids, but we're coming for your.
But we've already came for your kids.
Yeah, we've came in your kids. But it's this like code of like family is to like get connections within the gay community, get your like tutors, get like the people who've been in there for a while to educate you in this lifestyle, this practice, and everything like that, how to do it. And then if your family is not accepting, like I think I'm gonna go with Stephen Marsh. I might be wrong about that name. But like, if your family is just like not completely for it, go no contact, where you don't have any contact with them whatsoever. And if they react negatively to that, they're abusive. You needed to go non-contact, because if they react negatively to never seeing you again, they're obviously the one in the wrong. And you just got to talk to Steve Marsh in his Patreon about all your issues that you're having and everything like that in these private conversations with this, I don't even know how old of a man, just like mid 40s maybe, I don't know. It's what a world we live in. What a world.
But
Definitely
obviously,
not.
this all is
heading
just as
towards
bad as taking your
collapse.
kid to Hooters.
Yeah. I mean, even like the Hooters thing, it's just like weird, but it's just like take your kids to better practice than Hooters. Take your kids to an upscale restaurant like Denny's
Or Waffle House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have them see like
okay.
some live entertainment like a king.
The worst examples I've seen from Hooters are like little boys next to women that are dressed in the Hooters outfits, right? And they're like next to them smiling, like they're all around him. And it's like, oh, look at this. This is grooming. And it's like, well, I mean, like, I get what you're going for with it. Like, you know, okay, there's a kid next to women and obviously he finds them attractive. But everything here we've listed is way worse. Like there's no, even Drag Queen Story Hour, like none of that is even slightly close to that one example that people can give. Like Hooters itself is not something you go into and it's like super sexual, right? It's not something that they even perform sexual shows there. It's not something that the Hooters girls on Hooters Hours and Hooters uniform go out and start stripping, right? It's because drag, they do that, right? But like
Yeah.
with Hooters,
It's like
it's just a
the Hooters
restaurant,
out-
and it's like the girls are wearing like certain outfits.
Yeah.
If you want
And
to
they're
say
not even that worse than what you see in public nowadays. Anyway.
exactly.
Like the short shorts are just like, that's a common thing, especially down towards like the south end of America where it's actually hot. Women will like commonly wear that, especially towards like the beaches and everything like that too. And then just like showing cleavage, where it's just like there are some like shirts that like are commonly worn where more cleavage is shown than what's in Hooters.
But
Um,
let's go on to this.
so-
Let's go on to this point. If
Yeah.
if the Hooters girls, for what they wear, is inherently sexual, you believe that, right? Like if that's your position, if this is grooming because of that,
Yeah.
why don't you cover up in public? Why are you wearing what you're wearing right now in front of kids at all, ever? That's
wear your hijab.
yeah. Wear your hijab.
Wear your-
Wear your hijab. but I'm serious. Like, why are you not dressing modestly? Like that. Why is that not your position that you ought to dress modestly if this is sexual by not even being anything other than girls wearing like less modest clothing? Like it's not even like, you know, the beach or anything like that. It's like they're wearing shorts and like a shirt with a little bit of stomach, you know what I mean? If that.
It's sort of and I'm trying to like remember the word, but it's like the tu quoque fallacy. It's like what people usually like to call whataboutism, where it's just like you're accusing us of doing this thing, well you also do this thing. But it's like the point of saying that in an honest sense is to find a standard
Mhm.
that both of us are not meeting, and then to reestablish that standard where it's just like, okay, so you're criticizing me for this, you're also doing this, so let's both stop, right? No, it's just like you're doing this as well, so it's okay for both of us to do it. And that could also be an honest outcome of it, but it's just like to end up with this sort of situation where it's just like you don't even believe the premise of your own argument, you're just trying to hold it to this other person. That could get into like the sort of dishonesty, and also it's just the whataboutism, like used properly, is the tu quoque way of like you also do this, as well as a red herring, like those two mixed together, where it's just like this is completely a separate topic and this is exactly what this is, whereas people commonly use whataboutism to just point out any time where it's just like this other bad thing is happening or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, like it's literally just a question of the standard. Like, what is your standard for it? Like, can you give me a consistent one? If not, why are you talking? I mean, like, give me something consistent. Say it's all good or say it's not. I probably won't like that it's all like. I probably won't like you saying it's all good. But if you say it's all not, then fine, we're done. That's it. And you know, don't take your kids to Hooters.
Just like the children consent issue is one, a very touchy subject because people usually have really bad answers, but two, it's just I think it gets to the heart of the issue where it's the true libertarian sense. Sorry for all the people who joke about libertarians being pedophiles, that the libertarian sense is the children cannot advocate their will. They are latent self-owners. They do own themselves. The parents can't do whatever they want to the kids, but they aren't able to completely advocate and take control of their will or know their will. And as such, the parent has guardianship rights over the kids, where they have the property title to like consent over certain issues, but they don't have it to every issue. And specifically, if I remember the standard correctly, it's something of the sort of anything that would like harm, not even harm the child, but I forget the standard for the most part, but bringing harm to the child is going to violate that, given that it's not in service of some other greater gain, which sounds very utilitarian, but I don't really remember it, so forgive me for not knowing all the theory. But it's like you can tackle a child out of the way of a car. You can't just tackle a child normally, and just because that would be child abuse, unless it's some greater context of anything like that. But you can't tackle them against the pavement, we'll say, or you can't take them to a medical surgery that would them up, and they don't need it or anything like that. And the real meat of the issue is like, do they need it or not? But this whole issue of consent is one which many other ideas have this just loosey-goosey, whatever the state defines as okay for parents to do to children or for anyone to do to the children is okay. And that is not grounded in reality. It's just grounded in the opinions of other people. And it's concerning that people are so despondent, just like apathetic to this issue, because like this is a pretty key issue.
Yeah. You know, there's this political compass meme about like the Hooters and drag shows. And it's like, you know, authoritarian right is like yes to Hooters, but no to drag shows. And then authoritarian left is like, no, neither. No drag shows and no Hooters. Libertarian left is like, yeah, Hooters and drag shows. And then libertarian right, obviously it's, you know, you would expect it to be okay, like no drag shows, yes, Hooters, but the kids are too busy working to even go to. They were too busy working
Children
at Hooters
for
to
the
go to the
minds.
drag shows.
Oh God. maybe as like a busboy or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's
Dishwasher.
what we meant here.
The reputation, the optics of libertarianism, man, they're totally savable. But just this one joke made it so it's just like libertarians are seen as these like sleazy dudes, you know, just disgusting dudes.
So
Only that joke. There's no other reason.
So wood chipper.
For the child molesters, maybe.
All right. Anyway,
The child molesters deserve to have a nice long shower with Tyrone.
that's true. That is true. They do deserve that. Anyway, that seems like it's about it. We covered quite a bit today. Yeah, if we've learned anything, it's. I'm trying to think what we've even learned. This is a bunch of retardation.
I don't know. Just like be concerned if like any given situation is Munchausen syndrome by proxy, because it could very well be. In which case, it's not that the child is like a trans youth that needs protecting. It's that the child is a youth that needs protecting from the trans ideas. It's
true. Anything else you want to add today, Ashton?
Apparently, I'm not completely over my cough. I've got just a little bit. Well,
stop drinking mold. Anyway, guys, remember to like and share the show. This has been our podcast. We'll be back with another one. We'll see what it's about. You know, we have a lot to discuss. There's a lot of things around us, and there's a lot of irrationality today that we can take a look at and just respond to, unfortunately. But anyway, guys, make sure just support everything. Remember what I said at the beginning of the show. And yeah, civil offense is the key to winning. Thank you.